how do we smoke this out, right? How do we expose people? How do we really get a sense of what people are thinking about or talking about who might be running for office, presidents or otherwise? And I thought, well, maybe we can ask a very simple question. Or I asked myself a question and came up with what I thought was the one answer that rises above all others. The question is, look, we live in the greatest country in the world. Why is America the greatest country in the world? How would most politicians answer that question? For me, one answer above all others, and that is freedom. Political freedom, religious freedom, economic freedom. I mean, that is really where the strength of America comes from. From those freedoms, we derive open, powerful intellectual debate. We derive competition, innovation, economic growth, prosperity, and that is what makes America the greatest country, the strongest country in the world. And we know this. What's frustrating to me is that oftentimes you'll talk to a politician and they won't really see this and understand this, despite the fact that we have example after example after example around the world. The freest countries in the world are the strongest countries in the world, the wealthiest countries in the world, the healthiest countries in the world, the most prosperous countries in the world that can then spend more, hopefully at the individual level, but spend more even if someone determines it's a government priority on conserving the environment, on helping the disadvantaged, on whatever the people of that country think they should spend. We know it when we look around the world. The difference, and we have in some ways tragic examples. The difference between North Korea and South Korea. One country that has lived over a 30 or 40 or 50 year period with a relatively improved level of freedom, economic freedom, even political freedom in South Korea. It's not necessarily what you or I think it should be, and we hope it continues to improve over time, but dramatically different than in North Korea. And there are few countries in the world where the oppression, the poverty, and frankly the human misery is at a lower level or a more disheartening level than North Korea. It's a tragic example, but an example that we should all look at as the power and the strength and the importance of improving personal liberty and freedom around the world. The framers understood this. The framers understood that they needed government, needed to have some sort of centralized government to provide for the national defense, to provide for management of trade, to provide for a system of justice and other things. But they understood, as everyone in this room understands, that the very nature of government potentially poses a threat, a limitation, a restriction on personal freedom. And that is really the story, again, that you all know. And establishing the structure of our Constitution. The Constitution is there, first and foremost, to frame the government, it's there to frame the government, but first and foremost, it's there to make sure that in doing so, the rights of the individual are protected. And that's something that no politician should ever forget.